to grant it for us.
The Minister of State for Finance, Planning and Economic Development in charge of General Duties, Henry Musaasizi, told the members of Parliament sitting on the Committee of Budget that the supplementary budget requested by government resulted from the budget cuts during the processing of the budget for financial year 2024-2025.
So when we realized it in June, we said no, this was an error, this was an anomaly.
Musaasizi stresses that the non-wage cuts across boards were almost by 30%, which affected some of the votes.
When we came to implementation of the budget, we realized that part of this cut was the lifeblood of these entities.
The supplementary budget being scrutinized amounts to 1.051 trillion shillings. Minister Musaasizi calls for reinstatement of the budget cuts after some votes were affected by the recent policy of rationalization where some MDAs had shortfalls in wage and salaries. But the MPs, led by Chairman of the Budget Committee, Patrick Isiaji, tasked Minister Musaasizi to explain how the MDAs will utilize 192 billion shillings requested to generate 400 billion shillings to support the budget.
I don't have a macro person here, the one who works on the projections. I go, sit with the team who projects for us, look at the entities which have committed to give us revenue, we add up and see what can come to. But it can either be higher or lower than the 400 which I presented yesterday. I thank you.
The guides now performance measurement. Otherwise, if we just went with the blanket story, then again we start telling you, yet we are the ones who have just received as it is, then we become part of the problem.
The Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, Amina Zawede, also defended the supplementary request of over 11.33 billion shillings for the Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. Zawede was accompanied by the UBC Managing Director, Winston Agaba.
So, Honorable Chair and members, I would call upon you to support the notion that UBC ought to be funded. It must be a vote for this country to benefit, the maximum benefit that brings about, we talk about mindset change. Mindset change will happen if we give the fourth estate the due attention it deserves.
So what was the first call on 11.3 billion was wage. So I want to assume now, unless the accounting officer went and did other things, I want to assume that UBC now has wage for the 12 months in this financial year.
The whole of it is divided. You know, procurement of equipment plus installation and all that is 11.33 billion. Yes, the wage is separate.
So wage is not in this 11.33?
It is not.
So it has not come yet?
We are in the 7th month of the year and they don't have any wage. Are your staff being paid? I'm sure the staff are not being paid. They are very demotivated. This has been a recurring problem for UBC. And I think we should help UBC solve this issue.
Meanwhile, some MPs want government to consider prioritizing the items which were dropped during the revision of the budget for financial year 2024-2025 after the President returned the Appropriation Bill 2024 and Parliament harmonized with the Executive. Minister Musaasizi responded, saying the negotiation will depend on the budget process as being handled by Parliament.
We are saying now we are saying that period passed. Where should we put those other items that were dropped in the last budget?
Okay.
Can we hear from the minister?
Schools, ambulances, and the others. So what do you plan there? Since you are in the same country, even Rwanda is part of that.
Our budget process is consultative in nature. And that is why I'm here, to consult you and seek your approval with recommendations.
When it comes to that time, let us prioritize those items. Come 2025, 2026.
Daniel Mugoya, UBC News.
Almost all of them except Muni